Hey guys, I'm Aliette, and today I want to do a basic tutorial, kind of covering just over the user interface of Heroes of the Storm. So yeah, the easiest way that I can think of doing this is to just go from the top to the bottom and cover each UI element, and that's what I'm going to do. So let's start off here at the top. You can see there's a kind of a clock that shows how long of a match has been going on for, and then on either side of the clock you can see these big numbers. The big numbers are each team's level. And then on each side of those numbers is a bar, a blue bar or a red bar that fills up and kind of just shows the experience of a team, and the more the bar fills up, the closer they are to the next level. Pretty simple stuff. Alright, to the side of this bar is the death timer bar. When a hero dies in Heroes of Storm, they pop up on this little bar as a little portrait with a little number underneath it, and they show how close a hero is getting back to a match. So yeah, you're gonna be looking at this kind of information up top here quite a bit throughout a match, trying to see what advantages you can push and other things like that. But yeah, those two are pretty important. All right, let's move down. When one team or the other team hits the enemy's core, for whatever reason, both sides get this UI that pops up that shows the core health. Even if one side's actually not able to attack a core, they will see both sides' core health. It's just how Blizzard has it right now. I don't know if they're going to change it in the future, but at the moment, that's how it is. Just because you see the core health does not mean you can hit the core. Keep that in mind, guys. You still need to destroy one keep and one fort in a single lane to hit the core. Don't think that just because you can see this UI element that it's time to go core. Okay? Alright. Let's move on to your actual hero. You can see here I have him highlighted. And we'll talk about everything here. So let's talk about it. You can see my name. You can see your name rather. And underneath the name is the health bar and the mana bar that you currently have on your character. This applies to all characters, not just your own. You can see your allies and your enemies. So this is very important to look at. A lot of people don't look too much at the mana bar on enemy heroes when they're engaging, but they really should. It's very important. If they can't use their skills, then they are a very easy target usually. So keep that in mind. On the left-hand side of the health bar and the mana bar is the I'm going to call this the mechanics side of this little unit here. I'm on Black Heart's Bay in this image, so you can see that I have a Black Heart's Bay coin. But yeah, this just applies to any map that you can hold things on, so this also applies to a few other maps. But mostly this is something that you can just see visually easily to see who's holding certain map mechanics on both sides. You can see your enemies holding this as well, so just keep that in mind. Underneath the hero you can see a little yellow circle. This yellow circle is actually an indicator of the hero's actual hitbox. The hitbox is typically larger than the hero. You can see here that the hitbox is pretty big. So you can use this for body blocking. It's very important. You can use this to make sure that skill shots do or don't hit. It's very important to notice that this is the actual hitbox of your character. Even if it looks visually like you're out of a skill, if that circle is going to get hit, then you're going to get hit. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, that's all you really need to know about the hero there. Alright, let's talk about what happens when your hero is visually hidden or revealed. Alright, so when you're hidden for whatever reason, Blizzard decided to give you a little white/blue eye over your character. You can see it here. I think this is really weird that they decided to make it an open eye instead of a closed eye so that it indicates that you're hidden. But if you see a white/blue eye over you, it means you're hidden and that the enemies don't have vision of you. They just can't see you, no matter how close you are to them. If you have this eye over you, they cannot see you, unless they are in the same little bush as you, for instance. But yeah, now that's when you're hidden. When you're revealed, there are certain skills that reveal in the game, but when you are revealed, it will give you a giant red eye. It's a little bit wider than the white eye, and obviously the color is very, very different in contrast, so it's more obvious when you're revealed. But just keep those two things in mind. I don't believe that Blizzard covers that anywhere, but those are important things to know about. So, yeah. Alright, next up. Your nameplate will actually change when you are CC'd. It will show what CC you have on you, and it will have a little icon of the CC next to that. So if you feel like you can't control your character at any point, just look at your nameplate and try and see what exactly is going on. That will usually tell you exactly what the problem is with controlling your character at the time. So that's very, very good stuff to know. You can also use this to make sure that you are attacking targets that are CC'd from your own team. Alright. Next up is this casting thing. I'm going to call it the channel bar. Now, when you're casting a channeling skill, the bar either moves up or down. Some of them seem really weird. So it will move up, or it can move down depending on what kind of skill it is, I guess. For instance, Tychus' Odin will count down, but casting a Hearthstone will count upwards. So just keep that in mind. They're two different ones, but they move in different directions. I don't know why it's not uniform, but whatever. Alright, next up is the actual portrait bar down here, where it again shows your health and mana, but actually gives you specific numbers. It shows your hero's portrait. It's kind of a nice touch. It's not anything in particularly that's important in the portrait, but it looks nice. And next to that, actually, is what is known as the fountain tap cooldown. If you see a plus, and there's no numbers over it, and it's not grayed out, then you're good to tap the well. But if you see a number over it, that's your cooldown on the well. So just know that you can look here instead of going all the way back on the minimap and looking at the fountain. You can just look at your character's portrait down there, and it will tell you if it is on cooldown or not. Keep that in mind. Now, next to the fountain cooldown is the buff bar, if you will. It shows you certain buffs. It doesn't show every buff in the game, which is kind of upsetting, but it shows you general buffs. There are certain talents you can take that will keep track of here, and yeah, you can just look down there for certain things if you want to look at specifics that you have going on there. Alright, next up is the talents menu. This is probably one of the first things that you see, really, because when you first enter a game, it will scream at you to pick a talent. And it'll have this giant thing on the side here, which is covered up a lot of screen. And yeah, it will make you choose a talent, and you can see here that you get a talent at 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, and 20. But yeah, that's all I just wanted to cover. This is where you can choose your talents at. You can also, instead of clicking on them, you can also hold control and hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And it will automatically pick that for you. So if you can memorize that, then you're good to go. Alright, now if you hit C in a match, it brings up this little character sheet, which is kind of awkward. But it brings up this character sheet that gives you really, really specific data. You can see things like your movement speed, how much damage you do to siege, how much damage you do to heroes, life steal, what your current bonus ability power is, and such. You don't bring this up too often, really. It's just for very, very specific nuances, really. It's not important, but I thought I'd cover it anyway. Alright, let's talk about the ability bar, guys. You can see here that there is a total of 7 buttons, potentially, just on this bar, which is Z, Q, W, E. The locked one would be R. If I had an activatable trait, it would be D. And there's B for basing back. Now, this is basically where you'll be looking a lot, again, to see your cooldowns. You just need to know... You won't be staring at it, right? But you just need to know your cooldowns, and you'll be looking down here pretty frequently. But yeah, that's just I wanted to cover that real quick. Alright, next up is the actual extra buttons bar. Certain talents give you extra buttons, and I believe only one here in the game, Rexar, starts off with an extra button. I might be mistaken on that, but certain things give you extra buttons, and the extra buttons go up here. In the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 buttons, which you obviously can remap. But anyway, for those who don't know, you can actually move these around in any order you like. You can move first aid over to number 6 if you like pushing number 6 for first aid, or whatever you'd like. So just because it starts off in one slot doesn't mean that you can't move it. So just bear in mind you can move that if you want to. Alright, moving on. Let's talk about the minimap. Again, a very, very important thing to just be aware of here. You can see that the minimap shows a lot of information. It actually shows the structure integrity on the minimap itself. You can look at any individual structure, and if it's damaged, it will be kind of darkened a little bit, and eventually, you know, if it's destroyed, it'll just be removed from the map, or the mini-map, rather. Same applies for camps. If a camp is taken, then it will become the color of the team that took it. If it is not taken, it will stay yellow. And yeah, you can see a lot of things here. You can just see where everyone is on the mini-map that you have vision of. And yeah, that's basically all there is to talk about the mini-map. Underneath the mini-map is the little map mechanics kind of counter here. You can kind of see just what's going on in the map in general for the mechanics of the map. It is different per map, so just be aware of that, but that is where it's at. Alright, let's move on to the kind of nuances that I just wanted to cover. This is a watchtower, but I don't really care about the fact that it's a watchtower. What I want to get across here is that this is a neutralized capture point, and basically this is just showing that it's neutralized. Alright, so when one team captures it, it will completely turn to a different color of the team that captured it, and it will show that it's that team's color. I just wanted to cover this because it does apply to a few other maps as well, and other objectives as well. So you can see that it also applies to the siege camp here, for instance. But yeah, I just wanted to cover that a little bit. Alright, one of the last things I want to cover is the tower ammunition. This is a pretty important thing too. Just be aware of how much ammunition a tower has. It really leads to good pushing and other things that potentially you might miss if you didn't know that there was an ammunition thing underneath the tower. When a tower is out of ammunition, it will have this little cancelled out bomb icon on top of it. I don't know why it's a bomb. They don't shoot bombs, but yeah. Just be aware of that, okay? Alright, and then the last few things that I wanted to cover here, I want to talk about the stats menu. So if you hit tab, it'll bring up the stats menu originally, and you can see a lot of stats here. You can see the kills, the assists, the deaths, siege damage, hero damage, EXP of all these heroes. The roll column is specifically just for warriors and supports. Just shows how much they've healed or how much damage they've taken. It's not too important, but I do want to just cover that you can bring this up and you can see what kind of stats you or your teammates or your enemies are pulling. You can also see here on the left hand side that next to the character it has their little coins counted here that only applies for certain maps, but you can see how much map mechanics they have on them at the time if you pull this up. Alright, but if you hit the show talents here, it will actually swap you to a screen where it shows all the talents that people have taken in the game. This is probably more important than the stats screen, to be honest. You want to be looking at this a lot. There are times where you want to pick certain talents to counter other talents that somebody else on the enemy team has taken. There are times where you want to pick talents that synergize with your teammates' talents, and so forth. So this is a very important screen. Probably the most important thing here, though, is that this screen will actually show the cooldown of heroics that have been popped on your side, on your team. So you can look here to see what the cooldown of your team's heroics are. So you can gauge whether or not you need to go in or you need to be more safe. But yeah, this is a very important screen to be aware of. So I just wanted to mention that. And the very, very last thing I want to talk about is if you hit Control-Alt-F in a match, it will bring this little tiny piece of information up here, but it gives you your FPS, it gives you the temperature of your GPU, it gives you how much ping you have to Blizzard servers, it tells you what server you're on, tells you how much memory that the game is using, and so it's just information that you can use, and not very, very known about, but it's very, very useful. So I just wanted to bring that up. And yeah, I think that about does it for the tutorial on the UI side of things in a match. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back with another one later.